Rosa Stringworks Man Cave, and we've got a little bit to show and tell today, but I took kind of a impromptu fishing trip this morning with the boys, and so I didn't get a lot done in the shop, but I got enough done. Let's see. First thing is that who would think that you'd have to more or less force a kid to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I mean, like, almost have to cram it down his throat. Not quite that bad. You know, Trinian has the same taste thing that I have. The difference is with Trinian, well, he had different parents, that's for one thing. My parents forced me to try everything when I was a kid. I mean, like everything. And my dad, he wouldn't hear of me not trying, you know, like, even though I knew I didn't like green stuff, like if there was something new green, I had to try it. You know, it didn't matter what it was. Even though I couldn't eat it, you know, my brothers could, I could not. And they just thought I was just the most stupid kid on earth, and, you know, ignorant and just bullheaded and all that. Had nothing to do with that. It was my taste buds. Well, Trinian's got the same taste buds. Unfortunately, he's different in that he won't even try anything. I guess looking back, I probably wouldn't have tried much either if I wasn't forced into it, now that I think about it. So, you know, I wasn't going to force him to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But I said, listen, Trin, if you'll eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'll take you fishing in the river, you know. And because he loves to fish. And I said, we'll go down to the big piney river, you know. And he wouldn't try it. Several days went by. And finally, I mentioned it again. I said, all right, I'll drop it. I'll say, if you eat half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'll take you fishing down to Big Piney. And sure enough, he ate it last night, and he claims he didn't like it. Now, I don't see how you could not like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but he said the jelly was okay, but I don't like the peanut butter. I mean, this kid won't try nothing. Seriously, you have no idea. If you haven't dealt with this taste thing, you have no idea what you're dealing with. It's completely different than anything else. You are a square peg in a round hole, and that is for sure a fact. Well, anyway, he did eat his half peanut butter jelly sandwich. So this morning we got up we left at 6:30 to go fishing because we wanted to get out before it got hot. Because man, it is hot and humid, and it was already in the mid 70s and very humid. So it wasn't exactly what you'd call perfect weather, but it wasn't bad in the 70s. But about 9 o'clock, it was back up to the 90s already. So, you know, it was, anyway, with all that humidity. So here's a little video clip. Unfortunately, the fish didn't know we were there to catch them. They just didn't know that. Nobody sent them a memo. It's about 6:40 in the morning, and the boys and I are walking down a trail to see if it looks like a good place to fish. We're at the Big Piney River, and that sign said Spring Creek, so there may be a separate creek that pulls in here somewhere. I think I'm hearing a duck over to the left. Or is that a frog?
Duck outside.
You guys are supposed to be knocking down all the spider webs. They keep hitting me in the head. I guess I'm taller than you. So this is the Spring Creek here, I guess, and that's the river out there. Wow. I don't know if this is
going to be a place to fish or not, really. What do you think? It doesn't look that good. It's awful shallow. It's supposed to be a trout spring coming in this way. This is supposed to be a trout spring, and that's the big piney out there. But I don't see this being much unless we were going to wade, and we're not prepared for wading. So I guess we got to go try a different spot, huh?
Yep.
I don't think this is it. We're at the, I guess, east gate or southeast gate of the fort. There's the bridge that goes right over to the gate right over there. And here's a look at the big Piney River. And Trinian's already got a lure in the water. We're gonna see, I have a feeling we're gonna get hung up and everything else here. It looks like there'd be a lot of snags, but we'll do the best we can. We'll have some fun. Well, this is actually the third place we stopped, the second place that we fished. And we've had a couple of strikes in this spot, but really the fishing has not been real exciting today. It's always pretty here on the river, though. Are those guys coming back already? Is that the same guys? Watch out, Leighton. You'll have to get out of the way. Leighton's hanging in there. He's been fishing the whole time. He hasn't caught anything but a rock. And Trinian's up there contemplating what the next big lure is going to be. It's a pretty place. It's a beautiful river. Like they say, a bad day fishing is better than a good day working.
Yeah, we didn't catch a thing. In that same spot that last clip there where we were, the last time we were there, we caught quite a few right in that area. This time we got like 2 bites, you know, and that's it. Like nothing. There was nothing going on those fish today, and or they weren't interested in what we had to offer, at least. So anyway, it didn't work out too well. We were back here by 9 o'clock, and so I then started working on my little secret project. It's not secret anymore because I showed it to her. Here, I just want to show you this clip from yesterday just to remind you what it looked like when I started. So I'm only going to show you a few seconds of this, and then I'm going to come back. So watch this. Do you see this? That's an old file I found back in the back 40 with my metal detector. I couldn't even tell you how deep it was buried, probably 12 inches or so. Been there for at least 100 years, I'm guaranteeing you. And you see this? This is, okay, that, you know, that rusty pile of stuff turned into that. So, yeah, it's even hard for me to believe that you could take something that rusty, that pathetic, and it was pitted, deeply pitted, and sanded out until you got rid of all the pits and stuff, except for what looks like a maker's mark right there. See that? It almost looks like I put a maker's mark in it, and that's just a rust pit. That's all it is. And so is those 2 little spots there. Those were so deep I couldn't get those 2 out, or those 3 out, I guess I'd say. But anyway, I got her all finished up, and I did decide on the Osage orange handle. This thing, the handle is so slick. It really is. It's I put the oil on there, that Be Good oil, you know, that I used on the instruments. I put that on there. I put it on about 3 times and wiped it back off. And you can't really see the depth. In person, if you turn it in the right light, it looks like a deep finish almost, but it's just the kind of wood that it is. It just has a real pretty look to it. but it's super, super slick. I mean, like, you would not believe how that feels in your hand compared to this one, which is real kind of rough feeling almost in your hand. Now, I sharpen both of these up, really, shaving sharp. I mean, they both will shave hair. They're really sharp. And what I'm going to do over the next several days, I'm going to eat sausage for breakfast, and I'm going to slice one piece off with this. I'm going to slice one piece off with this, and we're going to see which one gives up first. I'm going to, over the next 4 or 5 days, however long it takes, I'm pretty sure, I mean, at least if it goes like it's gone over the last couple of months, day 1, this just cuts no problem right through the sausage. Day 2, a little bit of resistance, but it cuts through pretty good. Day 3, you got to saw 2 or 3 times. Day 4, you got to saw a bunch of times. Day 5, it won't cut through. That's the way that's been going. I'm hoping this one won't do that. They're both pretty much razor sharp right now. So just wanting to see that for my own benefit, to see if what I've been saying is really true. I'm pretty sure this one will hold an edge where this one does not. And that's pretty much true with any stainless steel as far as I can tell. Now, having said that, somebody mentioned that their father or somebody was a butcher and he had stainless steel and he loved them and they were great. But there's also probably a difference in quality. I mean, not all stainless steel is created equal. I mean, they do have different grades of stainless steel and all of that. So it could be that. I mean, it could easily be that. It could just be that we have crummy stainless steel. I mean, it could just be that simple. But all the stainless steel I've used doesn't hold an edge. And that includes that Hogue knife that one of the viewers sent me. That's a great knife. I love it. That's why I took the time to make a new blade for it, because I love the knife. It's just really a nice knife. But anyway, I'm going to go into the comments now, I guess, because I don't really have anything else because of the way everything worked out. So basically this morning, what I did yesterday to finish, you saw the shape it was in yesterday. It was a long way from being done, but I finished the blade yesterday, and then I toward the end of the day then, or right at the end of the day, I made this handle and I epoxied it in. I actually routed the shape of this tang into the handle, routed that in there. So it's kind of embedded, even though you can see it's exposed here. It's kind of embedded in that handle. And then I used epoxy to really, and then clamped it up tight. There is a seam right down the middle there too that's been epoxied as well. That's one case where Titebond is not the best glue. And hide glue is definitely not the best glue because it gets wet and it falls apart. Well, so does Titebond, regular Titebond. But I could have used the waterproof Titebond, but it's just not good for gluing metal, I don't think. Epoxy in a case like that is one of the few times where I do think epoxy is a good choice. Anyway, comments. David Tharp was the first one, as per usual. He says, howdy y'all, I'm really good at multitasking. I can listen, ignore, and forget all at the same time. Well, I'm right there with you on that one. Let's see. Wavy Gravy. Yesterday, just as I was about to start up my new chainsaw, my wife said, if you accidentally cut your legs off, don't come running to me. Everybody's a comedian. Let's see. Ronald Todd. Good afternoon, Jerry and everyone from the West Banks in New Jersey. And then he says, a penguin walks into a bar and asks the bartender if anyone has seen his brother, and the bartender asks him, what does he look like? Okay. By the way, I'm going to get this in the mail today. I'm kind of in between projects till this afternoon when all my parts arrive. So while I'm waiting for parts, I'm going to get back into the email and try to catch up. Now, I think it's Rhodes. I think Bill Rhodes. I'm terrible with names, you know. But anyway, I think he's the one that's been asking for this. Well, and if he's the first email that I got, that's the way I said I would do it. The first email that I got on this, you would get it. And I would assume Bill Rhodes probably is the first one, but I don't know that for sure. But anyway, whoever the first email was that I got asking for that bracelet, I will ship it in the mail today. And I'll let you know tomorrow who that was. Let's see. Sidecar Bob, I started to draw file when I was a kid. I figured I'd get in trouble for using it wrong, but I was praised for figuring it out. Yeah, draw filing is a super good technique with a file. It's a really good technique. It depends on what you're doing, of course, but well, I'll tell you a good example. Like if you wanted to cut a long edge here, that would be a good thing for a draw file where you're drawing a long edge like that. So in other words, you turn the file sideways and you use the file this way rather than this way. And it works. Some people probably wouldn't think that would work at all, and some people probably would think that would destroy the file. But you have to remember the file is very hard, which is why I used it for this knife. Files are very tough steel. High carbon steel. Let's see. Sidecar Bob, that was for yesterday, watching the end of it while I was. Yep. Let's see. Bill Webb says, good afternoon. And Brian Webster says, good afternoon from South Florida. And then we went live, and then the first comment after that was David Tharp says, if you watch Jaws backwards, it's heartwarming story about a shark that gives arms and legs to people who need them. And David, you are a sick pup. That's all I got to say about that. Dottie's praying for us. Thank you, Dottie. Gino Hitch says, hi, Jerry and friends. Had to replace garage door spring. Sure was hot. Don't let the heat get the best of you. Yeah, replacing your garage door spring depends on what kind you're talking about. Well, any kind of them can be a real health hazard. You got to be really careful with that. There's a lot of power in one of those springs. Scott Roberts, as a kid, we always had to carry our own fishing poles. Okay. Well, they did too. That first clip, we didn't take any poles with us because we just wanted to go down. We had to walk quite a ways to see what the river looked like, and we didn't want to carry everything down there, so nobody had them in the first. But they carried their own poles. They carried their own tackle, everything. Dottie Hillebrand, do you know River of Jordan? Well, I know the song. To the river of Jordan, da 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 da. I know the melody. I don't know the song entirely. Moving on down, Sidecar Bob says, I need a retroactive pass for yesterday. I had an appointment on short notice. At least I got to go for a ride on the bike. Okay. Let's see. I guess that's how you got there. You went on a bike, I guess. Scott Roberts, a butcher's knives could be there stay sharp longer is because they tend to use a honed steel more often than the average person. That's true too. That is very true. Like a butcher has a little thing there that he knocks his knife on a lot. But seriously, I don't mean to pick on somebody that loves their stainless steel stuff. I mean, it's fine. If it suits you, it's perfectly fine with me. It just annoys the tar out of me. And I, see, you have to remember, if you just read between the lines here, I have never cooked at all, ever. Never. I don't care about food because of my taste. I don't care about food at all. I really don't. And so it's just the way it is. And so I don't barbecue. I don't do anything like that. the only knives I ever use are generally generally are either the knives I made or, my hunting knives and typically I make those. And they're generally made out of something like this. And they're very sharp and they stay sharp a long time. Well, so only recently, because of my diet and because somebody also said you should eat breakfast and skip the rest other meals, because I was doing it the other way around. I was eating dinner, skipping the other meals, So anyway, I started fixing my own breakfast every morning, which is something I typically never did. And so I've been cutting the sausage every morning with this goofy knife. And I sharpen it up, get it just razor sharp. And like I said, I'm not making that up. I mean, it's like day 1, it just cuts like butter. Day 2, it cuts pretty good. Day 3, a little bit of sawing. Day 4, saw like crazy. Day 5, it won't even go through the darn plastic. And that's the way it's been every single morning. And I couldn't tell you how many times I've repeated that. I've resharpened this, resharpened it, and every time it's like that. And that's supposedly one of the better, sharper knives, So that's just my experience. But again, that's something I would never have experienced until I decided to go on this diet where I'm eating breakfast in the morning. I would never have known that my wife has been putting up with this crappy knife and their other crappy stainless steel knives for all these years. Because I don't go in the kitchen to cook anything. I know it's completely different than your average, but it's just the way it is. It's the 100% truth, too. I'm not making any of that up. So let's see. David Tharp, I asked my grandfather, what's the fastest way to the lake? Grandpa, are you walking or driving? Me, driving. Grandpa, good. That's the fastest way. Okay, let me think about this. I see, again, reading is just not my thing. I asked my grandfather, what's the fastest way to the lake? And Grandpa, are you walking or driving? Me, driving. Grandpa said, good, that's the oh, I get it now. I couldn't keep track of who was doing the who and who was doing the who and who was doing the what. I can't read. It's just pitiful. Simon Jardine, I'm with Trinian here. Peanut butter or jelly on their own, sure, but both? Yuck. Seriously, Simon? I mean, come on. You got to be kidding me. I mean, that's just like a staple. I mean, like even me with the weird taste buds, that was my favorite sandwich ever when I was a kid. He says, why do Americans eat like their health care is free? That sandwich sounds like blocked arteries to me. I seriously took peanut butter and jelly every single day I was in elementary school for lunch because I couldn't eat what they served in the cafeteria. Being me, that wasn't going to happen. So I took peanut butter and jelly. I have the lowest cholesterol of anybody you'll probably ever know. I mean, I'm not bragging. It's just facts. All this stuff that everybody says is horrible for you, is terrible, it's the worst thing you can possibly eat. I'm the poster child for every one of those things. All I eat is red meat. All I eat is high salt. All I eat is salt, sugar, preservatives, you name it, that's what I eat. And I'm I could have a heart attack in 5 minutes. I get that. I understand it. I'm not tempting fate here. I'm just explaining what fact is. And the fact is that that's all I've ever ate my whole life, is all the crud that everybody says is the worst thing you could possibly eat. I'm in pretty darn good health for a guy 70 years old. That's all I can tell you. So everybody, has all these ideas about everything, and I think a whole lot of it is hype, and a whole lot of it is just not true. I think more of it has to do with your genetics than anything else on the earth. And same way with the arthritis. How was I going to miss arthritis when both my parents had very severe cases of it? Theirs was in fact, I think theirs was way worse than mine is. Mine's bad, but maybe all the sugar, salt, and preservatives kept mine at bay. I don't know how to explain it, guys. I'm just telling you the truth. It's the black and white truth as it's happened to me in my life. That's all I can tell you. Whether you like it or you dislike it, I can't help that. It's just the facts. There's Bill Rhodes again. Thank you, Jerry, for the bracelet. Yeah. Well, like I said, Bill, you'll get it assuming that you were the first one in there. And I assume you were, but I don't know that because I haven't looked at the email. But I have to go with whoever was first because that's what I said. I said, whoever's first one to ask for it can have it. And that was via email, basically. So, let's see. GNP Old Marine Shop. Jerry, I shimmed the violin pocket on one side and got the neck to fit tight. That was the issue. Thanks for the advice on the loose joints. There you go. Yeah. No, I will be the first one to admit that tight bond ain't going to hold anything if it's a loose joint. But no glue will. Your hide glue won't hold it. Nothing will hold it if it's a loose joint. It has to be a tight joint. If you've never heard me say anything, hear me say that the only way glue holds is you have to have a very tight joint, you have to have full coverage, and you have to have good clamping. Those three things, if you've got those three things, it'll work every time. Every time. And almost no matter what kind of glue you use, assuming that it's some kind of a good carpenter's wood glue or assuming that it's your hide glue or whatever, it'll work every time. Let's see. GNP Old Marine Shop. Okay, I'm sorry. I read that one. Let's see. Ronald Todd. Being that you made that knife out of a file, I wouldn't think you could sharpen it with a file. Maybe a diamond card. No, Ronald, what you do is you have to change the temper. If you're going to make something out of a file or a high carbon piece of steel, the first thing you do is you anneal it, is what the proper term is. I'm surprised I came up with that because I was sitting there struggling until I got to it and it just popped out of my mouth. I can't think of words. But yeah, you have to anneal it. And anneal it means that you heat it up red hot and you get it cherry red and then you let it air cool slowly. You don't want it to cool off fast. As long as you let it cool slowly, it'll get soft. Now, then what you do is after you've worked it into the shape that you want it into, which, annealing it allows you to file it, allows you to sand it. Well, you can pretty much sand anything. Even if it is hard, it'll sand. I don't know how that works, but it does. It sands easier when it's soft, I'm sure. But anyway, you anneal it, work it into the shape you want. Then you have to heat treat it. And then what I do for my heat treating, and I'm no expert on heat treating, I just kind of know the basics. So basically, you heat it up to cherry red, and then you plunge it into either water or oil. And there are some steels, if you really know a lot about it, some steels are better put in water and some steels are better put in oil. I used oil on this. Anyway, while it's red hot, you plunge it right into the oil. And sometimes you'll get a little flame popping up out of that oil, but it's just temporary flame usually. Anyway, you do that, and then that sets the hardness. But that makes it glass hard. I mean, like glass hard. It's even harder than it was as a file. And I mean, like you can't scratch it with a file. It won't scratch at all. It's really hard. Then you have to you sand it back down again and get it shiny like this, because you have to have it shiny. So you get it shiny, and then you temper it again with this time you only take it up to you heat it up to either a straw color or a blue color, and it'll go straw first and then it'll go blue. So I went to straw color, and you talking colorblind again. It's the best straw color I could figure out. It looked like straw to me. So I went to that color, and then I plunged it in the oil again, and then that sets it back so that it's not glass hard anymore. It's still hard. It's still very hard, but it's not glass hard. And it sets the temper. So now you have what they call a tough blade versus a brittle blade. It's tough then. And that's the way this is right now. It feels really good. It actually does have a little bit of flex to it, which I'm kind of surprised. I didn't expect to have any flex. It has a little bit of flex, not near as much as the stainless steel. Stainless steel's got a lot of flex. But I think I did a pretty good job of tempering it. So I think it's going to work, but time will tell. G&P Old Marine Shop. Should a violin bass bar be rounded on the edges? This old Japanese fiddle has square edges. Okay. It's a complicated answer. Yes. No. The reason it has square edges is because they just didn't give a rip, and they just made it like that. And seriously, the square edges is not really, it's just not very good craftsmanship is really what the bottom line is. It's just not good. Whether it affects your sound that much, I don't know. I would say instead of being round, my preference would actually be pointed round. In other words, kind of like a pyramid a little bit. You know, like you bring the from the where it's actually in contact with your top or your back, whichever way you're looking at the braces. Well, on a violin, they only have them on the top. But anyway, you go from the top pyramid almost to a point, but then you round that point off. That would be my preference, is the way I would do it. And then you could even potentially scallop that a little bit. In other words, maybe make it, you'd want to taper the ends out to go thin, because a lot of times on those cheap instruments, or at least the cheap made instruments, I should say, where they don't really have any craftsmanship, they'll just take them block square all the way to the end. And typically you want to taper that off, maybe the last 6 inches, something like that. You want to taper it down to basically down to the top, And like I said, I would pyramid it, round it, and then round the top of it off and go all the way, and then feather it out as you get to the ends, That's just, there's a lot to all that stuff. Scott Roberts, what about Bob? That was a pretty funny movie. Remind you of anybody? What about Bob? That was a pretty funny movie. Remind you of anybody? Well, if you're saying what about Bob was a movie, I haven't seen it. So no, it didn't remind me of anybody. Doggone it. I lost my place. It scrolled on me. Okay, there you go. Dottie says, I'd rather eat peanut butter, no jelly. I like dill pickles on peanut butter. Oh my gosh. That's a waste of good peanut butter right there. Let's see. John Darmer, Nick says, my wife says you're a doughhead for not taking your fishing poles down to the river the first time going. Well, no. We knew we had a long walk down there. Well, I say long walk. It was only a couple 100 yards, but it's down that long trail. And we had a lot of stuff to take. And we said, well, we can walk down there pretty quick and just take a look. And if it's what we want, well, we'll sit down and fish, we'll come back, get our stuff, and go fishing. Turned out it wasn't what we wanted. And we had that suspicion because we had been there a long time ago, and we did try to fish there, but it wasn't so grown up then, and you could get in there. We just, because it was so grown up, we decided to take the cautious route, and we're glad we did, because we just would have carried it all down there, and then we would have turned around and carried it back. So, there's that. In this case, it turned out we were the smart ones, not the doughhead. Let's see. David Tharp, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Yeah, you can do that if you would, please. Wavy Gravy, my wife wrote a love song for my birthday. It's entitled, I'm So Miserable Without You. It's Just Like Having You Around. Gotta think on that one a while. Yeah, that could be catchy. That could just have a heck of a, a catch line or whatever. You could come up with some good phrases on that one. I'm just sure you could. Gino Hitch, Jerry, what do you think about the ceramic knives? Well, the truth of that is, Gino, I think I've only even seen one in my life. I don't know much about them. I imagine they're good, I guess. I don't really know much about those, so I can't really comment on that. It just seems like they'd be awful brittle. It seems like it to me. But I don't know. I don't know how they make them. David Tharp, peanut butter, it works up the gums and gums up the works. Let's see. When I say, I know most of you do know that I'm telling the truth on the food I eat. It truly is that way. I'm not exaggerating at all. I eat sugar, salt, preservatives, and everything that everybody says is bad for you. That's all I eat. And that is the truth. 100% true. The healthiest thing I eat is red meat and potatoes. That's the healthiest thing I eat. Sidecar Bob, in my case, bike refers to the sidecar outfit. That makes sense. Now that I was trying to figure out how to tie that in, but now it makes sense now that you say it. I came home with the sidecar full of stuff I bought while I was out. I'd need a really big sidecar because once I get on a buying spree. Floyd Countryman, Jerry, if you figure you got a good deal on hydraulic pumps and wheel hydro gear drives, could you share your source? If you can, thanks. Well, Floyd, the truth of the matter is, I just Googled it, so I don't know that I got a good deal. I Googled the actual part number on the pumps. They were specific for that Great Dane mower, so I Googled those specific part numbers. And it turned out there is a company that does sell those original equipment parts for that Great Dane mower. So I ordered them directly from them. So I didn't really care what they cost. I mean, I kind of did, obviously, but I was going to get the original equipment if I could, because I just figured, hey, it's lasted 25 years. I ought to get the same thing if I can, And so that's what I did. But unfortunately, they did not have the wheels, motors, the motors that go on the wheels, the two hydraulic motors. So basically, for those of you who aren't familiar, again, it's just there's two hydraulic pumps, one for left and one for right, and they drive the wheels, and the one on the left, one on the right. And the hydraulic pumps are spun by the motor. The motor is spinning, and it spins these pumps, and then the pumps drive the wheels. That's all there is to the whole thing. There's nothing more to it than that. It's a simple design. I love the design of it. So anyway, then since I couldn't get the motors from the original equipment, whatever, I just then went into Amazon and typed in the part number anyway, just in Amazon, and it popped up these two motors, and it says they are equivalent to, or can't think of the right word again, but they're same as kind of as those, or replacement for, I guess is really what it is, that they were a replacement for the original. And the difference is the motor body, the heavy, they're super heavy. The steel part of the body, I guess is what I would call it, was a little shorter than the original. The originals were maybe, I'm just making this up, the originals are 5 inches long, and the replacements were like 4 inches long. But in using it, at least for now, it seems exactly the same. Well, actually, it even seems better, if anything. But I just literally just found them on Amazon, so there was no particular source, if you will. So I'd share it if I had any insight on that, but I don't really. Let's see, John Narbernick, and yes, my dad, the butcher, had a steel hanging on the side, constantly using it. Yeah, well, that might account for it. That might make the difference. But I do think there is difference. Well, I know there is different kinds of stainless steel. I know there is, for sure. So I'm sure some stainless steel are better than others, especially for a knife application. And it could just be, seriously, that we have really crummy stainless steel. It could just be that. Because I'm sure we didn't spend a whole lot of money getting this stuff. I'm sure we got whatever was cheap. Especially knowing my wife, because I'm blessed that way. She just doesn't like to spend a lot of money. So, she likes to cut grass, though. I'm doubly blessed. GNP Old Marine Shop. I agree on genetics. My brother is 89, been smoking since teens. He's in great shape. Yeah, it really, as far as I'm concerned, and you can talk all your stories and I heard about this and I know about this and I know that. I'm going to let genetics trump anything you say. To me, that's 3/4 of it, in my opinion. Well, actually, I'd say it's 90% of it. The other 10% is what you do with it. And I think I just got lucky and got good genetics is really what it boils down to. Ronald Todd, peanut butter and jelly ranks right up there with apple pie if you're an American. Well, I agree with that. I'm not making it up when I tell you, I took that every single day, every day of elementary school. And I probably took it even when I got into junior high, as far as I can remember. But anyway, and I didn't care who said what, because that was all I could eat, I didn't like to take like a meat sandwich because if you didn't have a way to keep it cool, I didn't like that. So I always took peanut butter and jelly. Did it every day. And loved it. It wasn't like I got tired of it. That's the other thing I'm telling you guys. Like, all I eat every day, I eat the same thing. I eat a couple scrambled eggs, a couple pieces of bacon, or a couple pieces of sausage. I eat it every day. I don't get tired of it. It doesn't bother me at all. I could eat it every day the rest of my life. It wouldn't bother me a bit. I know most people would just be bored to tears with something like that and have to change to something else. I'm not like that. It doesn't bother me a bit. Food is not my thing. Just that alone ought to tell you that my taste buds are screwed up. I mean, that ought to tell you something. Let's see. It scrolled on me again. Uh-oh. Okay. All right. I'm trying to remember where I left off here. But anyway, the next one I see, it says, Sidecar Bob, I thought you needed to heat steel in an oven to temper it. Well, that's a good option if you have that option. But if you don't have that option, I mean, you think back years ago, they were tempering steel. They didn't have that option. They didn't have a heat treating oven, Now, you can do a better job probably, and a more controlled job, and a more precise job, because you can precisely know your temperature. But there are tricks the old timers had for tempering steel that I'm no expert on this. I just know what I know, and I don't know that much about it. But you look at the color and you look at the different things. Like, there's white hot, there's a bright yellow hot, there's a red, a cherry red hot, and then there's a dull red, and then there's like the blue, and then there's the straw, and all of those are at a different temperature range. Now, you can't be real perfectly precise on your temperature, but you kind of know a range if you are really into that. I'm not into it that much, so I don't know the actual temperatures. I just know some of the basics. Like I said, you heat it to cherry red, plunge it, and it will make it glass hard. You heat it to, straw color or the blue color, and it will soften it back up. Now, I think the blue maybe leaves it harder. I'm not really sure about that. I kind of think it does, though. I think the blue will leave it a little harder. I don't know all that stuff for sure. I'm just telling you what little I do know, and I really just know enough to be dangerous. Let's see, moving on down. GNP Old Marine Shop. And by the way, I was just heating it with a torch. Not just a torch. That's all I had. You know, I mean, actually, I do kind of have a forge oven thing, a propane forge that Vivor sent me, but it would be quite a hassle to set it all up just for this one application. If I was doing something all the time, I'd definitely set that thing up for a forge and do it. But I'm making one knife, you know, so it just was, the torch is quick and fast. But you got to watch it so you can control your temperature by color. And I'm the perfect person to do that by color, being totally colorblind. I'm the perfect person to do that. Let's see. It's just, yeah, I'm a walking dichotomy. Is that the right word? Probably not. GNP Old Marine Shop. Did you ever eat sugar sandwiches as a kid? Sugar? Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. Yes, definitely I have. Or we used to take peanut butter and sprinkle sugar all over it and eat it that way. We did that a lot. I'll tell you what. There's one thing I can make that'll just about anybody out there. If you like cinnamon, you know, and you like toast and butter, of course. If you like all that, I make a mean cinnamon toast, breakfast cinnamon toast. Oh my gosh, your tongue will slap your eyeballs out of socket. I'm seriously telling you. Let's see. Definitely did do that, and even when I was a real little kid, I didn't do this more than once, I don't think. But what kind of sandwich did they call it? It was a donut sandwich. I'm trying to think of what I put in the middle of it, though. I used donuts on both sides. I don't remember now what it was, but anyway. Let's see. Ronald Todd, if you fish the outside bend of the creek or river, you'll be closest to the channel. Yeah, well, you know, if you know how wild the country is here, you can only fish where you can get near it. And that's the only place you can fish, unless you feel like wading, of course, and you could do that. But the first two places we went, if you were wading, they were so swift they'd knock you off your feet. That last place we were, where that boat entrance was, that was relatively calm there. You could have waded that, but I think it was fairly deep there, so it wasn't exactly your best option for wading either. So we just fished from the bank and did what we could, and we just did what we could. Simon says, need hall pass for tomorrow. Got my first gay wedding. Need to take an afternoon off work too. I was gonna say no, I need the money, but don't want them to think I have a problem with it. It's their life. Yeah, well, I've never attended a gay wedding. I guess I'd have to say that. I've had quite a few, at least 4 or 5 gay friends over my lifetime. They did their thing. I did my thing. You know, like I said, I have friends that smoke marijuana. That's their thing. I don't do that. It's, you know, just do your own thing. That's all I got to say. As long as it don't hurt me or mine, I'm fine with it. Sidecar Bob, I grew up on a peanut butter and honey or occasionally jam. When I heard about peanut butter and jelly, I asked my mom, and she said it was something Americans ate. Seems to me jelly wouldn't spread well. Jelly spreads really good, actually. Yeah, it spreads right out. If you do have to work it a little bit, but it'll spread right out. Let's see. I think it scrolled on me again. I was trying to get done with this thing here. Kind of lost my spot again. Wow, it's must have scrolled more than I thought. Doggone it. Okay, yeah, it did scroll more than I thought. Okay, Bill Mumbo, the England under 21 football team are through to the final. Cool. Well, congrats. Bruce Ducker, I have a Victorinox SS chef knife. Holds edge pretty good. Okay. Well, I don't know that one. Oh, it's stainless steel, I guess. SS stainless steel. Yeah, I don't really know. It may hold. You know, I know Victorinox is a good brand, so maybe they use a better quality stainless steel. I don't know. You know, possibly. Let's see. But again, I say this, and again, I'm not saying it to be argumentative or anything. You do have to have a basis of comparison. That's what I plan to show in the next coming days. And I'll probably show them on my vlog. I eat 2 slices of sausage. So for the next several mornings, I'm not going to eat bacon. I'm just going to eat sausage. I'm going to slice off one with this knife, slice off one with this knife. I'm going to do that every day until one of them doesn't cut. And again, it might be this one first. For all I know, I'm just, I don't expect that, but it could be that. I could be completely wrong. And if I'm wrong, you'll see it. I'll show it to you. Ronald Todd, the butchers used the steel bar to adjust the burr on the blade edge. Yep. Preston Johnson, Jerry, I love those t-shirts. I have 2. Wish you still had them for sale. Yeah, these are really, really, really soft stuff. That we spent the extra bucks to get the soft material. They were way softer than your average t-shirt. Steve Mays, I've been blessed in that I've never burned out on any food either. Yeah, I don't even know what that means. Burned out on a food. I only eat certain foods, so there's no chance I could get burned out. If I had to get burned out, I'd quit eating altogether. Because I don't eat very many things. Simon Jardine, there is marine grade stainless steel for modern shipbuilding. Don't know if it's the best, but it's twice the cost, ordinary stainless. Yeah, I know there are definitely different grades of it. I know for sure there are. GMP Old Marine Shop, we had huge vacuum heat treat ovens at my old job, aircraft parts. Now there would be a place where you would definitely want to know everything about the temperature, the length of time in the oven. All of that would be precisely figured out. Guarantee, I don't know all that much about that, but I know that would be the case. That's just a given. Scott Roberts, I used to like lettuce on my peanut butter sandwich. Give it more crunch if you only had the creamy peanut butter. I always did like the crunchy peanut butter. I always did like that. With the nuts in it. I know, Jerry, gag me with a spoon, but I liked it. No, I couldn't. That would just be throw that away. Once you put lettuce on it, there's not a chance. Not a chance. You'd have to hold a gun to my head, and then I'd just say, could you just pull the trigger? Wavy Gravy, a dill pickle and a peanut butter sandwich walk into a bar together. The bartender looks at them and says, I'm sorry, but we don't serve food in here. Scott Roberts, yep, cinnamon toast was a special treat around our house. Yep. Well, I make a mean cinnamon toast. I mean, I really do. It's really good. A lot of sugar. David Tharp, my crazy brother-in-law puts bologna and potatoes. I love that on his not on peanut butter and jelly. I like bologna by itself on bread with potato chips. I like that a lot. I don't like it on my peanut butter and jelly, though. It'd probably be okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could eat that. I could not eat the lettuce, but I could eat that. I probably just the thought of it doesn't make it sound very good, though. He sweats it. He sweats it's delicious. I'll take his word for it. Yeah, that doesn't sound good to me, but I could eat that. Just to be clear, that would be something I could eat. I could not eat it if you put lettuce on it. Not at all. Steve Mays, if you heat the metal hot enough that a magnet won't stick to it, yeah, you're hot enough. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I do know that trick also. Now, I didn't do that. I just went by color. And I will say it did get glass hard. I mean glass hard. Like when I heated this one up, I heated it just as red as I could get it, dumped it in that oil, and then I said, let's see if it'll file now. And a file just skated off of it. I mean, it didn't even scratch it. It gets glass hard. Wavy gravy. I like a dill pickle with my liver ripple ice cream. Liver ripple. Bruce Tucker. What? Let's see. Scott Roberts. We also make snow cream. I've heard of that. I've never made it. In the winter, just stay away from yellow snow. Sugar, milk. Yeah. Well, we used to make homemade ice cream all the time, and it's similar. David Tharp, dill pickle relish on a banana split. Let's see. Ronald Todd, have you ever fished around the river trestle where JR? Yeah, we do. We go down there all the time and fish there. That's fairly good. The last time we were down there, I mentioned on the vlog that I schooled Trini and I caught 4 fish. Each one of them got bigger. Like I started off with one that was about 6 inches. Then I got one about 8 inches. Then I caught another one about 10 inches. And then I caught one about 12 inches. So I ended up literally, I caught them in that order. It was weird. It's like, man, I need to keep fishing. Each one gets a little bigger. They were all, actually, the very first one was a little largemouth bass, but the other 3 were smallmouth. And if you don't know how to tell the difference, it's kind of hard to tell, but you can tell if you know the difference. You can just instantly know when you pull one out of the water. The largemouth, I mean, their mouth is cut different, but it's the color that I look at. The striping, the largemouth will have a stripe down its side. The smallmouth will be kind of they call them bronze backs, kind of a bronzy color, I guess. It doesn't look bronze to me. It looks green to me, but, again, I'm colorblind. But they look different, completely different. Wavy gravy, liver, chip, cookies, and pickle juice. You were just trying to give me that willy, aren't you? David Tharp, wavy gravy, those chips are really good with some good old chocolate buttermilk. Yeah, buttermilk's another thing. I've never got into that. Oh, that smell of that just makes me want to vomit instantly. That is the nastiest smell. Bill Mumbo, jelly to us is Jello. To those across the pond, jam is a fruit spread in England. Okay. Well, jelly isn't far off from Jello. It's just a little, I would say a little thinner, if you will, or, well, I don't even know if that's the right word, but you can spread jelly. I'm not sure you could spread Jello. Maybe you could. G&P Old Marine Shop. Yes, very intense training ovens, always breaking elements, burning. Yeah, 24/7. Yeah, I'm sure that for aircraft, you would definitely be monitoring every detail of the heat treating process for aircraft. It would be way different than making this. Sidecar Bob, about all I know about stainless is, number one, it doesn't play well with aluminum, and number two, the bolts you and I can buy are about equivalent to a grade 2 mild steel, so always use a size bigger. Let's see, Scott Roberts. Well, this segment has been very educational. Learned a lot of different sandwiches to try out. Let's see, chocolate buttermilk. Let's see, just buttermilk, period. And there's Bert Pashon says, personal note, I do want a case for the Martin. 200 to 300 would be good. Let me know when to send the money. Okay, Bert, I'll take care of you on that. I'll figure it all out when we get to it. Again, I haven't even started on it yet, but we'll get to it before too long, I hope. Scott Roberts, you could slice that Jell-O if you had a good knife like Jerry has. Yeah, I'm pretty much guaranteeing you can slice Jell-O with that. Don Nice, Jerry, what kind of oil did you use to dip your knife in? Just use motor oil. Almost any kind of oil will work. It's just the fact that it's a liquid. You can use water. Water, I think, is too much of a shock too fast and can make it exceptionally brittle, can even induce cracks, where the oil does the same thing, but it does it just a hair slower, and you know what I mean? It kind of reduces the shock. And so I think if you're in doubt, I think the best thing to try is use oil first and see if it's working for you. If it's not working, well, then try the water, But water, I think, probably is the first thing they use, because it makes sense, doesn't it? That they probably used water to heat treat with back in the 1800s. Wavy Gravy, my goofy aunt made meatloaf parfait, layer of ice cream, layer of meatloaf, layer of ice cream, layer of meatloaf, and so forth. Top it off with ketchup or Cool Whip. You gotta be making that up. Wavy Gravy, meatloaf sandwiches are delicious. Meatloaf is another thing that don't go down these pipes. If you just put the meat in it, left off the loaf, I could probably eat it. But I have, the other thing, and people will not believe this when I tell you, but I have a photographic memory on food tastes, on taste. If I've tasted something one time, there is no reason I need to taste it again. I know exactly what it tastes like, and I remember it forever. That's a fact. You can, again, believe what you want, but I can tell you for sure if I've ever tasted it. And meatloaf, I can still taste it to this day, and it's just, there ain't nothing in that has any redeeming quality for this guy. We will see you tomorrow with something else. Thanks for being here. Take care.